What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as y'all know, today is indeed Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live here at Motorfest. With that, we're going to have the French Rallye. You will get yourself the Blaze of Glory Nitro, which is going to be kind of interesting looking. We're also then going to have the Peugeot 3008 DKR Maxi, 100,000 bucks, then 100,000 XP after that. The next one is going to be the Ivory Tower Summit here, which is going to have the Rallye Ivory Tower car, which funnily enough is going to be in this summit as well. I kind of wonder if that was a bit of a mistake there. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Either way, though, you are going to have the rally car there, which is kind of funny because this is going to be a rally car for the summit, and yet the summit we're doing now is fully focused on rally with that rally car, and this summit is going to have Hypercar, Alpha GP, and yeah, interesting. Either way, though, this one is going to have a mix of events where this summit is going to be fully focused on rally. So looking at the summit here, the first thing I do want to mention, guys, this one is going to be different than basically anything we have seen in the aspect of the modifiers that are on it. First things first, every single event is not going to have nitrous besides the skills, so the 6 events don't have it. And on top of that, these 6 events are going to be in manual, so do keep that in mind. You have to run manual, and I will go over some tips and tricks with that, so do not worry. The other thing is, though, we are going to have 3 skills that are honestly very straightforward. The Bullseye did end up starting on a dirt bike, then you basically go into a plane, hit every single objective, have your score breaker set. There's really nothing insane there. For the long jump, you also have to have a score breaker on it. You could pretty much start off in the Maxi. You could even use something like the Peugeot if you want, but start off in either one of these cars, hit your nitrous, hit the jump, and that is literally it. You don't have to do much of anything. To be honest, it's a bit brainless. For the Slalom as well, start off in the Peugeot there, guys. I did end up having a half score breaker. I still got 157,000 points, so to be honest, it is fairly simple. The first event here, though, you are going to be driving the brand new Ivory Tower Rally car. It's also going to be the dirt track. I got a minute in 42, and I could tell I could definitely go faster, but to be honest, I don't really see a point there. But the big thing is, though, again, you are running manual with no nitrous. So the big thing is making sure you're keeping that speed up in corners. You guys are going to notice a bit of the footage in the background. I'm basically in 4th gear the entire time I do it. Then I'm also going to go into 5th gear on the main straightaway toward the finish line there. I basically am going to hold 4th gear around the corner because you can redline it. That is a big tip I also wanted to give for every single event in this summit. A lot of people are going to be new to manual. Maybe you've never really used it or you're not that big of a fan of it. I would recommend, guys, do not be afraid to redline the car that much. Like, you don't necessarily have to shift it early. Sometimes it's better to redline that vehicle, really ride the RPMs up higher. That way you're going to be able to have more power. Do keep that in mind for every single event. But besides that, though, the second event here, once again, a vehicle owned, you are going to be running the lovely Citroën or Citroën. I really need to look up how to say that. But either way, though, make sure you guys are staying on the track or at least the dirt area. That way you're going to have more speed on it. Always keep in mind when running manual, make sure you guys shift up an extra gear when you are going down a hill. Even sometimes 2 gears, like I sometimes put the car in 5th gear. That way the car is going to gain more speed the second you get on the top of the hill and go down it. Do keep that in mind. It is going to make you much faster. Like if you go over the hill then start going down it, let's say you're going to be in 3rd gear, then you shift, you are most likely going to be a tad slower overall. So keep that in mind. Put the car up a few gears. Again, some manual tips and tricks there to make you a tad faster. Do not be afraid to cut some areas in this one, but make sure if you're looking for the most speed, try to keep the car on the dirt. The next event, though, you are going to have a mix here on the Red Bull Playground track, or at least that event. This one's also going to have a small cut, which you guys will recognize on this track because the way they put the checkpoint, you could basically cut inside into the dirt. That way you're going to cut off probably a few seconds when you do end up doing it. For some odd reason, I don't know why, but the Maxi really is a very odd vehicle. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of it. With the way this car does handle on the dirt, it will like spin out and be kind of wonky and stuff. So yeah, do keep an eye out for that when you are using it. And then for the other event, though, you will have to run the Peugeot 205 T16. So for this, I would recommend, once again, you guys will probably be familiar with this vehicle at this point. But this is going to be fully focused on the road. There's not that much dirt. The only dirt you are most likely going to encounter in this one, though, is going to be the areas you can cut. So do keep that in mind when you are doing this one. One big tip I can give is when you guys are going around these corners, I found third and fourth gear is great. And again, do not be afraid to redline that vehicle around the corners. Like if you are going around it, if the car is gripping, keep it in third gear, redline it a bit and shift coming out of the corner. And then if it is going to be a bigger corner, you can hold the speed and also the grip. Do not be afraid to keep that car in fourth gear. Do not upshift it if you are even close to redlining. Let the car push its power all the way through that corner. We are then going to have the Maxi 5 Turbo. Once again, this is going to be an event you guys are very familiar with. I would say a lot of players have probably done this race probably hundreds of times at this point. And the Maxi 5 is probably going to be a vehicle again that you guys are familiar with. Just make sure you're staying on the dirt. You can cut areas, but if you really are trying to maximize that speed, stay in the dirt. The final event here, though, I would say is going to be the interesting one for many players, and the reason why I do say that is it is going to be the off-road race that you originally had to use a dirt bike on. So the dirt road you are going to be on is going to be very small, and on top of it, there is going to be hills and jumps and a lot of things that can definitely mess you up, especially driving a rally car in an environment it doesn't belong in. So do be careful when doing this one, man. Take your time, kind of learn the areas with the vehicle. And I did notice again the C3 is going to be on the wonky side with the way that it does handle. Besides that, I gotta admit this summit really wasn't that bad, and in ways it was honestly pretty simple. But I really do think having a manual summit, I just don't know why they would do something like this. I mean, there are so many different modifiers they could probably do that would attract more players, and using a modifier that could potentially pretty much lock players out of it because of a disability, or maybe they have an issue with their hands or something like that and it can't shift, is honestly a very weird decision on Ubisoft's end. And the only other fact I can look at is the weird thing that they did not change it or think about changing it or address something to the community about it. To be honest, it's kind of a terrible idea there. Besides that though, let's jump right into this.